class, and we're gonna do a somewhat later stream today. New bed is in and waiting to be tested out. Um, so that was my morning, and now we can go and do a little bit of coding VCDB. For those who don't know, what we do is we take incidents that move this out of the way. We take incidents and breaches that occur in the news, and those get recorded as a issue within the VCDB Git repo, a GitHub repo. Those issues then we take and we code them into a structured format called Varus, and we do that using this web app here at this link. You can also download it as a single file if you want to use it offline or in some separate way. So I'm going to try to knock out 4 of these today, so let's get started. First one is healthcare administrative partner warns 18,000 patients of data breach. So we'll go and we'll open up the news article and we'll see what it is. Medicare billing and coding provider health administrative partners notified 17,693 patients of a data breach that may have exposed their PHI. September determined that an employee's email was accessed by an unauthorized individual. Upon learning of the incident in June, they consulted a forensic expert. Patient data that may have been exposed. So there's no evidence that patient data has been misused. And this is a interesting one because for healthcare, they're being on kind of the safe side. So this would be kind of data disclosure. There'll be data disclosure, yes, for email account information, but we don't actually know that this data was disclosed. Like, this is more of a maybe. However, in healthcare, they treat kind of that maybe, that access to the email account that this information was in, as a yes. And so it's not a lot of detail. We don't know how the attacker got access necessarily. Stated that passwords and resets. External emails are now labeled as external. Oh, there we know. So the person was phished. Because that's the only reason that you would need to then clearly label things as external. Mailbox size restrictions and archives requirements have been implemented to limit the amount that they're storing. Evaluating options for multi-factor authentication, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so let's get this started. I'm the analyst, and this happened December 5th, 2019, but it happened in September. And so it goes into the 2020 repo. If it had happened in December 5th, it would go into 2021. But we're going to, even if it were in that, we would code it, because if we were to skip those breaches now, it would bias the data set against breaches happening at this time of year. And so we would code as if it would go in there, but when we go and analyze the data, we'll filter out anything that goes into next year's report. So this is confirmed. The GitHub number is 14636. And we copy over the reference so that if we have to go back and reference or deduplicate this, we've got this. This was phishing leads to email compromise at healthcare organization. Not a whole lot of detail, but enough that we can code it. This happened in 2019. It looks like September, but we don't know the actual day. Absolutely, we'll take some time after we code this one, because I super enjoy answering the questions. So, John, and I'm trying to get better about, actually I need to read like the text. So you're asking about some sampling questions. We'll try to answer those after we code through this one. So compromise. See, this is the problem, is we don't know anything about kind of this timeline. They don't tell us how long in September they determined that the emails was accessed. So this may not have even happened in September. That's just when they caught it. But we really don't know. They don't give us any information about any of this at all. So we're going to have to go with just what we have. Oh, that's okay. Timeline, and then the victim we do know is health administrative partners, whoever that might be. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and that reminds me. There's something else I need to open up too. Let me make sure this connected in. Okay. This is a good time to do it too. So one of the things that we're going to code as we go and do this as we get into the assets section is we're going to want to try to identify if it's cloud. And working with Bit Discovery, they've loaned me an account I can use to go look up domains, which will help tell us whether their architecture is cloud-based or not. And so let's go, okay, 18,000 patients. Okay, industry is healthcare. But what kind of company were they? Health Administrative Partners. I don't know who this company is. Medical billing and coding provider. Okay. And so how big an organization are they? Number of employees. It used to be that we had to do a ton of work, right? Because like we never had any good feel, and now you can type in companies and half the time they just tell you how big they are. So hospital and healthcare, 200 to 500. That is enough for us to kind of hone in on the range. 100 to 1,000 is what we use. And so that's still a small business. One second here. And so it's still a small business because it's under 1,000. So looking at healthcare, I don't know, is there a healthcare coding? Right, and that's the act of like taking a record of what medical procedures and services were provided and adding the codes that are used for billing. And it's a pretty robust area. There's a lot of companies that do it, but I don't know what the NICS code would be for it. We can search. Maybe it'll tell us here. At least they'll give us an idea of where we're looking at, what medical billing is. Maybe 5.6 doesn't sound right, does it? 56111. What would 56111 be? 56111. Office Administrative Services. You know, I could actually see that. Like, they're not doing healthcare. They are providing kind of an administrative service to the healthcare industry, but that may not necessarily be healthcare. And so I might. Oh, but is this a like as in healthcare administrative partners? Let's see if there's something about healthcare administrative. Administrate. Come down here, and is there anything under healthcare? Nothing in, and these are all like food services, rehabilitation. These are all very much the actual care portion. So I'm going to say that this is right. Locations affected, 1 in the United States. And let's see. We need to figure out where are these folks located. Maybe it'll tell me if we click here. Pennsylvania. So we can copy this here and then US/PA. No real secondary victims. So the action, we know that there's a social phishing action because they've implemented more email protections. I would guess it was a link, but it was there's no mention of malware, and so we'll probably not get into get into that side of things. If we had malware, we could choose whether it was provided by a link or by directly in the email. But I don't think that applies. Actor, external. These are financially motivated, but we don't know where from. And the asset sounds like one asset, and that's going to be the mail server. Or server. mail. Though it's very likely that, well, yeah, it was the mail server that was compromised because they log in. And then now the question is, was this a cloud services? So do they have a website here that we can reference? They do. So let's get their website up here. hapusa.com. And let's do a lookup over here. Cloudy Nights was one we looked up last trip. So I'm still learning this. So here we go. And we'll look this up to see if it says anything about what their mail's architecture is. Sort by mail type. CNAME. So this is not what they're using for their mail. To add the cloud column. So CDN would also count necessarily as cloud storage. So we don't have an MX record for them. They're using a little bit of cloud, but Wyndham Communications, IO Capital Princess, like it looks like they're kind of self-hosted. This doesn't look like cloud hosting. And so I'm going to suggest that this is on-prem. Then role is IT. These were based in the United States. Then the attribute compromise was confidentiality. Was data disclosed? Yes. We know that at least one set of credentials were exposed. One. Credentials. And then, unfortunately, because this was all stored in mail, there's a bunch of other stuff. Right? There's medical records. And we'll just use, whoops, we're going to use the 17693 number. And we're going to use that for medical. And then does it say anything about names, addresses, date of birth? And normally if medical shows up, we use that to include personal data because kind of inherently medical data is just implicitly personal. So as customer member constituent data, it was stored. Data abuse is unknown. Partner data, no. We don't know anything about credit monitoring or such. And so data total, we use, I had one here for the credentials. And the data total is just to kind of give us an idea. Right, and this is very much opportunistic. There's no reason to believe that they were targeted for any other reason other than that was where the money was. Discovery method, determine that employees email. It is unclear. They don't say whether they had some reason to believe, someone told them externally or what. Okay, in September, determine the employees upon learning of the incident. Oh, they learned of the incident in June though. So we should probably go back and fix that in the timeline. Timeline. Move this back to June. Not that it's a big deal, but yeah. Discovery is unknown. Value chain. So there's probably the development of a spoofed website as part of the phishing, because that's how you steal credentials. Non-distribution services, we don't know if any of these are used. This is one of those things that'd be nice if we got more data on. Targeting, certainly targeted by their email address. Distribution was by email because it was phishing. And cash out, it's unclear how they will cash out. Likely sell access. We don't know if they'd sell the data in the email or not. And then again, with money laundering, we don't know, right? This is another area where we really wish we'd see more data, but no one ever talks about the money laundering that happens after the breach. So that's value chain. The impact overall rating is insignificant. They just inform people They had to do an IR investigation, but that's about it. The source, and so this is important to go see how was this assigned to us. This was a PHI DBR, so it was a priority assignment, and this helps with the sampling, which is a good point. And I'll lead into our discussion after this about sampling. And the event chain was, say, a social phishing attack by an external actor on a person, compromised confidentiality, and actually, we really need to have another one here, right? Because there was a hacking action using the stolen credentials, external actor, server asset, to log in and compromise more data, which means we need to go back up to actions and add that hacking action of use of stolen credentials. Because the credentials were stolen, but then they were accessed probably through the web application to access the email server. That we can set this to validated. Oh, we missed. Oh, target. Yes, we did miss target. Wait. Property social. Oh, social target. Yeah. So that's action. Social target. I don't think it said what type of person this is. Like, it's just an employee, and so we don't know. We're gonna mark it unknown. And save that. It is validates. And just to be careful, we're going to copy it off and to a Word document, put that here. And we'll start another one. We want to close this one because I never remember to close them. And we can go back. Okay, John, you said you had some questions about sampling. I would far rather do that than code issues. So, shoot, what questions do you have about sampling? Is this okay? So, I think you answered my first question. One of the GitHub documents has skewed towards PHI and priority incidents. Is that still valid in the assignment tweaks you made recently? Yes. The assignment script assigns, it prioritizes anything marked as with a priority tag. So PHI DBR tags are priority. Priority, is priority. Hall of Fame is priority. Anything tagged with one of those will constitute up to 20% of incidents coded in or assigned in a given week. It doesn't force the people that are coding them to actually do them, but we assign up to 20% of all incidents as priority, and then fill in what's left with random assignments. And so, what other questions do you have about assignment? Or sampling, so to speak. Let's see. I recall the DBR often mentioned that the data set is skewed towards North American European contributors. Yes, primarily because we all speak English. Also because VCDB can be more, at least English-centric, but not necessarily North American-centric, though it's probably still that way simply because we're more likely to catch things in North American news sources. Certainly, we're not going to catch a breach in other languages because we simply don't have good tooling for searching and catching those and turning them into an issue and then translating them to code. When it comes to the larger DBIR data set, it's just we simply have more connections with people that are geographically closer to us. But we are trying very hard to find contributors from around the world. We have a lot already, and we're trying to expand that to really try to be able to tell the individual regions of the world about breaches that are specific to their region. Let's see. Did that answer your second question? Okay, I'm using my my big Stein today. Okay. 3 of 3. The report mentions dropping 50,000 botnets, Trojans. Yeah. And so the 50,000 bots they're not dropped. They're just analyzed separately because they're very much just cookie cutter. Like here, where we're coding individual things for each one, they are all kind of very exactly the same thing because it's just a bot hit, but it's hitting. Um, we count them against organizations because we've talked before about how we only record breaches against organizations, and so even if a bot breaches like my personal account, that may be a breach of me, but if it breaches a set of credentials that are then used to log into my bank account or my cloud services account, that then becomes the problem of the organization. And, as we've coded a couple credential stuffing attacks, which are technically breaches of an individual account, but really are the problem of the organization. And so because of that, bots that get on individual people's computers and then compromise the organizations they've got accounts to there can be a very large number of those. They're just very widespread. But there's low detail for each individual one. Still, they're an important part of the breach corpus. We just have to analyze them separately because, if we have 2,000 or 3,000 breaches that are kind of coded individually like we're doing these, which are very maybe high fidelity, but a smaller number. And then we had 50,000 botnet breaches, which are lower fidelity, but a very high volume. Any of the analysis we ran would obviously be telling the story of the 50,000 and not the 3,000 high quality or high fidelity. And so we separate them out and we analyze them separately so that we can kind of look at the different aspects. Does that make sense? They're both pretty similar. In fact, it's a good example. I've been reading How Charts Lie. And one of the things they have is they have a chart that's like, I think it's a life expectancy versus income, like per capita income. And if you log plot it, it's a nice purely straight line, and you get certain companies that break out. And, the argument in the book is that, a log scale, on the one hand, maybe it's a lie because, you're grouping together because it's not a linear scale. But on the other hand, if you use a linear scale with this data set, what you get is you get this line that goes straight up and then over. And the portion going up are countries that have low GDP per capita and a very wide range of life expectancies. And then you get like the rich countries that have high GDP per capita and higher going on, and all have kind of basically the same life expectancy because per capita GDP is no longer driving it. And so when you look at, if you want to look at the aggregates of those two sets, you have to kind of separate them out. You can't analyze them together, or some of the individual nuances get lost in the shuffle. And by the way, that How Charts Lie is a great book, and it's not, it's pretty simple reading. I'm enjoying going through it, just as kind of a nice, it's like the data equivalent of a page turner. But it's very good for kind of learning about the grammar of graphics without actually saying grammar of graphics too much. So anyway, hopefully that answers your questions, and we'll jump back in and code another couple breaches. 2 more should be good. We'll just do the healthcare. We'll stay on the healthcare trend here. Loudon Medical Group, DBA, Comprehensive Sleep Care Center notifies patients of the employee email account compromise. You start to see a trend, don't you? Like, just, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something similar going on. We'll start with the original article over here. And this is a notification. Recently learned of an incident that may affect privacy of certain information. To date, has not received any reports of the personal. Could you lead with what happened and not with what you don't know? Like, we have no reason. We don't know that anything bad has happened. I was like, well, what do you know? However, in an abundance of caution, CSCC has provided notice to the incident, so potentially blah, blah. Okay, what happened? June 19th, it's the same freaking month. Loudoun County Information Technology Department became aware of unusual activity related to an employee's email account. Took steps to respond to investigate this activity and change their user's password based on their review. Determined that an unauthorized may have gained access to the employee's account. Commence a comprehensive investigation to determine the nature of the scope. Through the investigation, we conclude a third-party forensics an authorized actor gained access to a single email account. We have a date range. We have a detection date, and we have containment. So we have some timeline information. Has commenced detailed and diligent review of all the data present in the account to determine which records are present. The process was completed October 17th. Found no evidence of actual or attempted misuse of the data. Yeah, see, so they don't tell us what happened, and very likely it was phishing, but we'll code an unknown action at the beginning of this because it doesn't say. So, okay. Here we go. Security incident. Confirm the GitHub number is 14613. References. We're going to comma separate these, and we're going to include the ones, even the ones we don't use, because someone may try to look this up by the references later on. And we want to make sure they're all in there. Summary. Email compromise leads to potential disclosure of sensitive data. What information was involved? Socials, date of birth, driver's license number, passport, medical record, health patient account number, payment, financial information, medical history. Yeah, so we'll have a couple things we can add. Okay, confidence, medium. I don't like that we don't know what was done, but we know the incident timeline. 19, June 15th. We don't know how long compromise took. Exfiltration, we don't know how. Initial exfiltration very likely happened in minutes after they connected. Discovery took 5 days because they did, or 4 days because they discovered it on the 19th. And containment took at most hours to shut down the account. And then notification happened in November 2019, 11/27. Okay. The victim is. Do I include the DBA portion of this? Loudoun County Group, DBA, Loudoun Medical Group, DBA, Comprehensive Sleep Care Center. I really don't know. I don't know like how much of this is the actual company or not. Let's find out what we can about this company though. Okay. I'm looking for this company. 200 something employees, so that puts them firmly in the 100 to 1,000 range. Healthcare needs to our providers. So they're a healthcare provider. What do they provide? Practice management company focused on leading physician. Let's say for more than 2 decades. People walking. Okay. Multiple specialty physicians to keep our community healthy. What do you do? So what would you say you do here? Equips our providers to practice with tools for employees. Oh, come on, what are you? It has to be kind of just a healthcare. Every paid quality medical care and process. One of the largest, most diverse physician-owned multi-specialist group practices. Okay, that's enough that we can work off of it. So, it's a healthcare service. That would be versus hospitals versus nursing residential care. I'm going to put this in here as a general case because it sounds like they cover multiple different types of things. One in the United States and This is in Virginia, I assume. Loudoun County, Virginia. Yeah. US VA. And we'll remove this. Go up here, victim. Action. So I'm going to code an unknown action. Let's see. Unknown. How email credentials exposed. And then a hacking action for use of stolen credentials. Credentials. And very likely through the web app. It's always possible they could directly download it, but if that were happening, they'd know exactly how much they had taken. So it would show up in their mail logs. It's used to exfiltrate data. Actor, external, no organized crime, financial. Oh, we don't know the country, so I need to deselect that. Asset, sounds like one mail server. And then let's find, I guess we've got their website over here. We'll put it in here. And we'll see what their cloud CDN, cloud hosted, no, ASN Savvis. What about their mail? Their MX record is here. Now this is cloud hosted, so put on-prem. IT and on-prem for us also includes, and we probably should include that in the description, that I'll add a note for Varus to do this, that on-prem also includes data center hosted stuff. So, you know, when we say on-prem, we literally don't mean necessarily in the building. We just mean that they kind of manage the systems directly. So we'll add a coding style issue that update on-premise assets description to clarify that data colo hosting includes on-prem includes colo hosting. On-prem includes colo hosting. Okay. We'll save that as a coding style, or actually that would really be a enumeration because I need to change the definition in Varus. So we'll submit that, and we're done with that at least. States Savvis, I'm sure is a US. Do we have a country code here that we could use? Geolocation, country, continent. It's probably good enough. This is all you, United States. And attribute, confidentiality, data disclosure. Yes, again, we know that at least the credentials were compromised. And then we also know that personal information was compromised. And we know, and I'm going to include that specifically because of the social, medical, and financial. And I don't think that they said, let's see, payment. Let's see, actually bank, and then did they talk about credit card numbers too? Passport number, medical record, patient number, payment. Yes. Gosh. Okay. Payment information too. Okay, and this is all customer data, but they did not disclose how much or how many people. State, it was stored. Data abuse, they don't know, so unknown. Partner data, no. And do they, what can you do? Encourages, remain vigilant, monitor your own credit They're not going to do anything. Security freeze on your credit cards. Okay. Close attribute, targeted. This is be opportunistic. Discovery method. Again, they don't say. They said that. I like how both of these, they've said, we became aware, right? Which is not the same as we found it. They just disclose that they became aware because, potentially they were told by a third party what had happened. But they don't want to say that they didn't find it. And so they kind of weasel around it. Scary, this is going to take the same thing. I guess we don't know that phishing happens, so we don't know what development was required here. We also don't know how targeting happened. It could have been, and the reason is didn't have to be phishing, right? This could have also been through credential stuffing. We don't know about non-distribution services. We don't understand the cache hooks. We don't know if anything was taken, and we don't know about money laundering. And the impact, again, we're going to mark it insignificant. They had to say what happened, but I don't think that they did much other than their investigation. Plus section, this was a PHIDVR assignment. Actions, we're going to code an unknown action by an external actor on an unknown asset led to the compromise of credentials. And then separately, a hacking action, the use of stolen credentials by the external actor on the server asset, the email server, compromise potentially everything else. We'll mark this as validated. Save. Oh, what did we miss? Oh, did we mess up? We messed up the region. I bet I put a Nix code in the region is what I did. Because I have a habit of doing that. Industry. Oh, no, I put the country, the state in the region. There we go. And this is why we have validation. To make sure we don't do that. Because later on, if I don't do that, I have to go back in and validate it. And fix all these things. And it's much more manual when I have to do it. Here. Pull this up. File. New. Okay. And we've got 20 minutes. We've got time for at least one more. If they're all this straightforward, I might get two in. Close this one. Go back here. Data breach compromises 220,000 medical card numbers. Sounds a little different. Okay. About 220,000 Medicare beneficiaries getting new numbers after fraud detected. Excuse me. After a press release from the Valley Program for Aging Services issued November 25th indicated 220,000 medical beneficiary card numbers had been compromised in a data breach. The Center for Medical and Medicaid Services says there was no data breach. Okay, so after a press release saying there was, instead they say they took proactive steps to issue new cards after recent enforcement actions. Okay, last year CMS removed Social Security numbers from all Medicaid cards and instead replaced them with a Medicare number. Good idea. Due to what appeared to be fraudulent use, CMS is checking all billing for Medicare services and reassigning a bunch of numbers. Under the new system, if fraud is detected, beneficiaries' numbers are shut down and they're mailed new cards. The detected fraud appears to only involve numbers being used to bill Medicare for services that were not received. So I'm going to say that what happened here is they detected fraud on the back end. And so they inferred that there's some type of breach associating, say, a Medicare number with a username or something. So the attackers have gotten data somehow. But it doesn't tell us how. This is not a breach. So this is a, whereas it's not a false positive, but it is that kind of equivalent tag. This is invalid. And then questions, test, training. Yeah. We may just have to go with invalid. And the invalid check will keep it from being reassigned. I'm going to put a note in here. Not a breach. Fraud detected on Medicare card numbers, but source of numbers for fraud is not known. And a closing comment and get rid of that one. So it's out of the way, and then we'll go on to the next. Notice of data security incident, CAH Holdings. Okay. I don't know why the script does this. It assigns people, then unassigns people pretty often. And I need to go back and check, because I think that one of the changes I made in the assignment script is causing, it's not doing a good job of separating out things, and so people are not always getting assigned the correct number. So what is this? No, this is the last one. Here we are. CH Holdings recently learned of a data security incident involving some employee email accounts that may have impacted a limited number of persons, PIA and PHI. CA hired an independent computer for, I mean, like these, all three of these are so similar, right? So much the same. Force investigators were unable to identify what emails or attachments had been viewed by the unauthorized actor. Viewed, not downloaded, which makes me think that, again, this is through a web app. Gained access to some of its corporate email accounts. They didn't say how. For a limited number of individuals, addresses, blah, blah, blah. Although we are not aware of any misuse for any information as a precaution. No cost. So they are offering credit monitoring for 1 year. Is taking steps to prevent this type of incident in the future. These steps include a global password reset, enabling multi-factor authentication, including spam filters, and hiring and hiring a CISO. We decided that's not like improving security. That's like starting to security. We retrained our employees on cybersecurity and recognizing and responding to suspicious emails. So we know that this was phishing. We continue to review our training program to ensure it's up to date. Okay, well, you know, so one of the things we want to add to the web app is templated incidents. So you could fill in like the majority of it and then have a template over here, and you just choose the template and it populates everything but changes the master ID and incident. And then you could fill in and change things just like the victim name and the timeline and stuff. Because in reality, we could have basically used a template for all three of the last breaches. So, okay. This happened November... They announced it November 15th. But they say when it happened. They say recently. And that could mean anything. November 15th would technically go into the next report, but I don't think that they completed an entire investigation in 15 days and made a notification, right? It was a couple months on the other ones. And so I'm going to say that this really does stay in the 2020 report. Give it GitHub number, our reference ID, phishing, compromises, multiple email accounts leading to disclosure of PHI and PII in those accounts. Okay, confidence, medium. Timeline, because we don't really know anything about timeline. 2019, we don't know the month that's happening. Compromise, again, we don't know how long phishing took. Exfiltration, I mean, we know nothing about timelines. Discovery, we don't know. They just recently became aware. Containment, we don't know. Okay, the victim is CAH Holdings Incorporated. Who is CAH Holdings Incorporated? Inc. Who are you? Inc. Mantra. 401. Who are they? They not have a website? Is there a Bloomberg profile on? Like, this is kind of weird. Number of employees, they don't know. Website, no, they may not have a. Operates as special. The company was formed in the purpose of issuing debt securities to repay existing credit facilities, refinance indebtedness, and for acquisition purposes. This cannot be the same, but I mean it could be, right? Because if it was, said Grant, well, Grantland Rice. Maybe this looking him up will tell us something. C-A-H. Hi, CEO Cobbs Allen Hall. Okay. Find his LinkedIn profile. Cobbs Allen Hall. Here. Well, no, I'm going to do CH Holdings Limited. Right? No, this is a CH Holdings Incorporated, which is different. Limited, Cobbs Allen Hall of Louisiana Incorporated. Cobbs Allen Hall Holdings. This is weird. This is a weird one. I don't think I've seen a company like this. Grant Rice at 5 Cobbs Allen Hall. This place has been around for a while. They have a website. So it's an insurance company of some kind. Cobbs Allen number of employees. Is their phone number? That's not really helpful. Here, did it say how many employees they had? 100 and something employees. So let's say 100 to 200. I'm gonna say just Cobbs Allen is. I'm gonna put this over here for later. But I'm gonna say Cobbs Allen is really the company behind it, and the holdings thing is all just kind of some legal technicalities. So the industry, these are they're in insurance, financial. It's kind of the bottom half of financial, and so what does their website say about what they do? National independent agency focused on risk management and niche practice groups. This reminds me of the insurance company in Outer Worlds, which I just played through. Okay, well, other insurance funds. Investment pools and funds. I'm going to say that they sound like other insurance funds. Which is affected one, United States. Region, North America. U.S. Was it Louisiana? Where were they headquartered? Oh, Birmingham, right? So Alabama. At least for this breach. So that's the victim. Action. Phishing. Phishing by email on, and it's unclear who, was used to exfiltrate credentials, and then hacking was used to infiltrate and exfiltrate. Let's see. Use of stolen credentials. There we are. And it really sounds like through the web app. The actor is external. Again, organized crime, financial. We don't know the country. And the asset was their web server, their mail server, excuse me. Server, web application, or server mail. It really was the mail server. You look over here. What do we know about their mail server? Auto discovery doesn't look up. Here we are. Their mail is hosted at level 3. It's not a cloud service, so on-prem. and was in the United States, right? Yeah. IT, United States, and attribute confidentiality, data disclosure, yes. Data that was disclosed, and no, not that much. An unknown amount of credentials because we don't know how many accounts were compromised, and then what other data did they disclose? Individuals' birthdays. So it says protected health information. It also says socials. So I'll put personal for the specifically for the socials. Yeah. And healthcare information, so medical. Customer data stored in the email. Data abuse, unknown. And then we'll come up here in partner data, no. What's this? Targeted, this was opportunistic. Discovery method, again, unknown. They were made aware. They became aware. That's the wording. Development, clearly there was a website for the phishing. We don't know about non-distribution services, but targeting was by email. And then distribution was by email. Cash out is unknown, and money laundering is unknown. The impact is insignificant. They made a disclosure, and that was that. This was a PHI DBR assignment. And so a social action by an external actor on a person, asset, compromised confidentiality, and then that was used for a hacking action on an external actor by an external actor on a server asset to compromise more confidentiality. Mark this as validated and save it. And what time is it? 1:52. I might try to sneak another one in. Hopefully it is a straightforward one, though we can't ever be sure of that. We'll come over here, close this issue, which I'm always bad about doing. And gymnastics, Darmstadt Gymnasium admits data breach. I'm going to guess this is a pretty straightforward one because it's a gymnasium and, you know, this doesn't sound like the target for the most complex attacks. Okay, but this is one from a... I was so looking forward to doing a German one, and I am so disappointed. Maybe we could find another article about it. One that is not where I don't have to pay to read it. Okay, we'll come here. Oh. Darmstadt Gymnasium. Data breach. Nope. 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 IssueHub.io. And then our record of it here is one of the other ones. No, that's just our record. Yeah, needs more information. Needs details. Assign myself and mark news article requires paying to access need freely available article or to purchase this one in euros. Okay. And we'll throw that back to the assignment pool and go to the next one. Oh, 5 minutes left. Okay. What is this? OPP calls over health bill leak, public sector staffer gone. Okay. The public servant who believed to have leaked draft healthcare legislation to the NDP is no longer employed, a memo for the Ontario Public Service says. As many of you may be aware, there were media reports regarding unauthorized disclosure of confidential government documents And writing further, as a result of the investigation of the matter, the employee responsible for this breach is no longer employed. Leader whose party released additional confidential healthcare data to the media on Monday said she would provide no information about the source and criticized the Doug Ford government for going after a whistleblower. The document shows that Ford's government is poised to privatize sectors of the healthcare system, including possibly public sector. So I'm going to mark this one for Thursdays because this is an interesting question. We've never had coded up one that, depending on your point of view, may be a whistleblower and maybe a breach. Touches on the question of what is a breach and what is whistleblowing and how we would handle that from a coding perspective. Because there are protections, right, for disclosing specific things that are of the public interest or are important. And then if you are authorized to blow the whistle, then, is it inherently a breach? So I'm going to mark that one for Thursdays. Remove myself, and I'll put Suzanne on it. And now we have really run ourselves out of time. Though that only leaves us 2 arrested after skimmer found in West Des Moines and AWS private keys on GitHub. We'll leave those for next time. We'll call it a date. Thank you all for coming by and listening and contributing. I appreciate it. And I have something I have to do Thursday morning, but I will try to do this again maybe around 2 o'clock Eastern time Thursday. So anyway, thank you very much. I'll see you all later.